With that, we're going to transition to our final flip the script here, and I cannot wait for you to hear this. And I just, again, the vulnerability that it takes to share a story like this is just, appreciate the grace of all of our flip the script speakers. And so, as a child, John Gibson was declared a ward of the state at the age of 5. And he grew up and later aged out of the U.S. foster care system, 11 homes, 2 group homes. John has come out of his experience with positivity and hopefulness that enables him to connect with anyone facing adversity, young or grown, in a sincere and powerful way. Everybody welcome John Gibson.
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon. So happy to be here. Very thankful to be here. Jen has said a couple times over the past few days that RePlanted is all about fostering safe places to share your story. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to bare my soul. I'm going to share my story in a way I never have, because I've never been, in my opinion, in a safer room. High level, you people understand things like a ward of the state, placement, social worker. These terminologies, these words, you use them, and a lot of people outside these walls they're going to tune out. They don't get it. They're going to hear orphan, and they're going to go, that's sad. And you kind of lose them, you know? And I learned really, really early that I was just a little different than my peers. You know, my lived experience was something they had never seen. Most adults had never seen. So I ran away from it. You know, I ran away from being the orphan, you know, the foster care kid. And I spent 35 years running away from it. You know, as I stand here today, I was an Olympic alternate. I wrestled, you know. I saw that through the end and almost fulfilled that dream. And then I became a professional jiu-jitsu fighter. And I had 100 matches, and I won almost all of them. And I started a career in healthcare, and I far exceeded my expectations, whatever thought that could be. And I spent my whole life telling people about those things, like a magic trick. Look over here, because I really don't want you looking over here, you know? And when I started to share my story about 2 years ago, I had people that I had known for 20, 25 years say, John, I had no idea. I say, yeah, you know, I designed it that way. You know, I didn't want you to know. But I made so many mistakes running from it. And you can't hide from these things. You can't hide from trauma. You can't deny it. And the loss and the connections and the things that I was craving my whole life, you know, the way I was approaching it wasn't working. So if I could do anything today or leave you guys with anything, it's not to slam you with a sad story and make you cry, although we're all going to cry probably. I want to give you a cheat sheet. I want to share my experiences in the hopes that someone here can identify with it and I can maybe help answer some questions about your kiddos. And moreover, just help them avoid a lot of the hard stuff I had to go through because I did it alone. 11 homes. 2 group homes, you learn survival skills, you learn fight or flight, and you learn how to assimilate, how to blend in, how to be silent, and then how to fight and speak up for yourself when you have to or feel like you have to. And those skills are acute, they're fine, you know, they're sharp, but you can't turn them off, you know? And I heard everybody in my life I ever said I love you to. And I did it unknowingly for the most part, but I habituated cycle after cycle because I felt super unlovable. I felt after the 3rd or 4th home, you know, I don't know if anyone's going to pick me, you know? And I struggled with all the same things that your kiddos struggled with. Does my mom think about me? Where's my sister at? You know, nobody here looks like me. What were my first words? When did I start to walk? Was my dad strong? Does my mom love me? I'm 39. I still think about this stuff, you know? This woman right here, my mom, Margaret Gibson, Marge. I haven't seen her since I was 6 years old when I had to testify against her and her boyfriend. Let me back up a little bit and tell you how I entered the foster care system. So I'm one of four. Brandy, Missy, Johnny, and Valerie. My parents met each other as teenagers in the Northern Philly projects and started making babies really young. I think about 15, 16, Brandy was born. We were all 2 years apart. Just before my 4th birthday, my father was getting ready to go to Kmart. And me and my sister Missy said, we want to go, because my dad had a cart, like a shopping cart that he had stolen. Well, borrowed mostly. I feel like technically it was going back to Kmart, So let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? And that was exciting. That was fun. We didn't have a stroller, so to ride in that little buggy was like really fun for me and my sister, So we jumped in the cart, and I think Kmart was, it's across the street from where we lived. It was 30 yards, 50 yards maybe. You guys know Kmart? Kind of like Walmart, the K, right? Yeah. So, we're in the buggy. We're going to Kmart. And my father takes me and Missy inside, and he goes to what I assume is the sporting goods section. And this is 1987, y'all. So he buys, I guess, a rifle or shotgun. I'm not sure what to call it. I don't know, guns scare me. And he bought the ammunition as well, which I don't think you can do anymore. But again, it's 1987. And he walked outside, and he put the barrel in his mouth and blew out the back of his head in front of everyone, So my sister, Missy, I barely remember this, y'all, but I remember her crying. And I can remember her taking me by my hand, and she walked us home. And at the time, we were living with my father and his girlfriend, who had 2 young girls about our age, 2 young girls as well. And to my best recollection, paramedics, police, somebody came and asked her to identify the body, the girlfriend. And she was very hysterical. She was upset. And I remember very vividly. I guess he was on his gurney, bed, I don't know what you call it. And my father had tattoos. He had all the kids' names tattooed on his arms. Brandy, Missy, Johnny, and he was going to get Valerie, I guess. And his arm was hanging. And I remember my oldest sister, Brandy, and you got to know Brandy to get this. She was like 6 years old. But she yelled at that guy, "Cover up his arm!" Which is funny now, not funny then. But I'll never forget that, I'll never forget that lifeless arm. That'll be with me forever. In the wake of this, my biological mother showed up. I don't know if this is the same night, the next day, very soon thereafter. She had already lost her parental rights due to neglect and abuse. She was living with her pimp at the time in the midst of a terrible drug addiction. And she took me and my sister Missy to a shelter. And we went to the homeless shelter, stayed there for about 2 or 3 days, cooled our jets. And on the 2nd or 3rd day, they had a congregation. They were going to show the movie Grease in the cafeteria area. So they pulled everyone up to the big room, and I guess while everybody was in the front of the shelter, the back of the shelter was empty. And at that time, my mom and her boyfriend had taken me and Missy back to the room, and we were viciously assaulted by 2 homeless men. They call it trafficking now. They used to call it prostitution when I was little. These are the charges that my biological mother and her boyfriend pled guilty to. 2 counts of rape, 2 counts indecent assault, 2 counts simple assault, 2 counts statutory rape, 2 counts criminal conspiracy, 2 counts indecent exposure, 2 counts corrupting a minor, 2 counts, simple assault. How do you process that at 4 years old, right? Like you don't. So now I'm in the system, and there's 4 of us, and everybody wants the baby, right? And all of us had our own issues for sure. Me and Missy, obviously, had just been brutally assaulted. She almost died. The only reason they found us, we were bleeding out of the back of our pants, and somebody in the shelter called the cops. Thank God, saved her life for sure. But yeah, now we're in the system. And in no time, I'm in 6 homes in probably 5 months. And it starts off your grandma, and then your aunt, and then your family best friend, and then this temporary home. And I was wild. I was as hard and difficult as any of your kids could possibly be. I've been there, done that, trust me. I made all those mistakes, But I was also just a little boy, and a little rowdy, and just people didn't know what to do with me. So I bounced around a lot. And my most difficult trauma as a kid, I've thought a lot about this over the past 2 days, because I don't talk about this stuff. I never talk about the shelter. And it wasn't my father's suicide. I don't know that guy. I got a picture of him. I don't know him. It wasn't what happened in the shelter to me and my sister, although that definitely something that made me, and I chased that for years, overcompensating for a lot of that stuff. It was being separated from my sister, Melissa. When I think about my childhood, I to this day, I'm obsessed with stars and clouds and the moon and stuff. It's just very grounding, and I don't know, it's soothing to me. But if I see a star, I go, starlight, star bright, first star, see night, wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight, wish I could be with Melissa. It's a habit. I can't even help it. I'd rather have $1 million, trust me. Like, there's a lot of wishes, but I can't help but still wish that. She was my everything. We shared a bed. She protected me. She made sure I ate, So getting separated from her was something that was so traumatizing, and I know that I'm not alone in that. So I just offer that just as some information to share. But what I do want to offer you are two really important things I'd like you to think about and consider, because they're things I've struggled with. And again, I've walked this walk, and I don't want your kids to have to do it. And if I can offer insight to you to help you heal, help them heal, awesome. We all win. But first and foremost, positive reinforcement. Like, they got a big well. You got to constantly pour into that. You're going to constantly have to fill it. And I don't care if this kid was adopted 2 hours after birth, if they were fostered in 13 homes before they met you, it doesn't matter. They need love. We all need love. Everyone needs love, But if you're somebody that's ever felt like, it pains me to say it, just no good, unlovable, damaged goods, these things that I felt like forever, And again, the magic trick. I did all this stuff to overcompensate, trust me. But it didn't serve anyone, So healthy and positive reinforcement. I was on the phone a year ago with Tabitha Goldsmith talking about RePlanted Conference. And she was sharing some information about one of her kiddos with me. And I think he interrupted the conversation by going, hey, mom, did you see that I brought this up to the sink and I put it in there? And she goes, yes, thank you, dear. That was very thoughtful, very helpful. And I started laughing because literally an hour before that, I woke up early and I went up to the kitchen. I thought, let me put this in the dishwasher. And the dishwasher was full of clean dishes. I go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put these dishes away. And then I cleaned the dishes in the sink, and I loaded the dishwasher. And I said, go and take out the trash while I'm at it. Took out the trash, and I wiped the counter, and then I just waited for my wife to walk in. I was like, this is going to be great. This is going to be so good. And she walked in and said, hey, and got her coffee. And I thought, all right, maybe she didn't notice. All right, so, hey, babe, did you notice the dishes were done? She goes, yeah. Cool. Word. Did you notice the trash was taken out? She goes, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, cool. And that was it, and I moved on with my life, right? But I'm laughing because I'm still that little boy that really needs that extra, I'm proud of you. I saw that. Thank you. Those things are still so important to me. They fuel me. I think about what type of bosses I've had in my life. I've never responded well to a disciplinarian boss. a hard-nosed micromanager, but if I had a boss go, I'm proud of you, John, I'll move a mountain. Move a mountain for that person. So that's one piece of insight I hope I can offer. Second to that, and I'm going to have to power through this because this is really important to me. Attachments. Boy, have I struggled with attachments. Friends, partners, you know. It's been very difficult for me to trust anybody doing anything for me without me believing there's a catch. Or I owe them. I have to reciprocate. And if I don't have the time, space, energy to do that, you're not even getting in. And that, at 39 years old, has left me like without a best friend, y'all. You know, and that's on me. I didn't put the time in. I didn't have the trust to give, and I didn't put forth the time because you got to show up as a friend, you know? So I still struggle with that to this day. But moreover, we hurt the ones we love, right? And I don't know if you're experiencing this with your kids, but I did this my entire life, and even into adulthood. And it's been my kryptonite. And I'm bearing my soul. This is how it worked for me, okay? I love you. I don't want you to go anywhere. You're my person. Ride or die. Start the countdown. I'm going to do something pretty bad. I'm going to find out to your core what hurts you, what you're scared of, what you're embarrassed by, what you're ashamed of. And I'm going to punch you in the stomach with it to test you. Are you going to be there? Can we get through it? Because we get through that, to me, in my mind, now we're stronger. Wow, we got through that. You're going to be there for me when I need you. Now I can count on you. Without understanding, I fractured that person. I really hurt that person. And now maybe their love for me is maybe even a little less, or their trust is for sure less, right? I didn't even see it. So you do that once, you do that twice, you do that 3 times. Eventually, the best of person, a foster parent, a girlfriend, a best friend, they're going to have to make a really hard decision. And they're going to have to go, you know what, John? I got to love you from afar. I got to protect myself. And I did that. I got to live with that, y'all. You know? And I'm not proud of that. I put forth a lot of work and did a lot of therapy just to understand that, just to understand what I was doing. And I know your kids do it, you know, because they want to be loved. And if they're testing you, it's really because they want to be there, as backwards as it is. And they are confused. This is and. You know, the theme is and. Man, that's right. Earlier today, somebody said, I have a mommy and a daddy and a mom and a dad. That was so profound. I don't know who said that. Man, I felt goosebumps. You know, I spent my whole life wanting to get picked. Like, I was like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And I was so bitter, and I was so angry that it didn't happen. And the poor, sweet souls that had to pay for that. Again, I got to live with that, you know? So I don't want your kids to have to live with that. I wrote this. I'm not a poet by any means. I'm not a writer. I'm not any of those things. And we had one here Friday night, and his name escapes me, but man, he was so good. But I wrote this from my heart, and I wrote it from the perspective of, is this little kid right here in this picture. This is if you see this picture of me, that's the youngest picture of me available, 5 years old. Look, if I could get on one knee right now and talk to this kid, this is what I would hope he would hear, what I would say. And I'd like to believe I'd be a better person today if someone would have done that to me, you know? But this is for sure what I had to hear. You know, your kids, these kids, have such a capacity for love, a need to please, to give, and to feel safe. So let that be your compass. They're going to test you for years, and there's going to be high highs, and there's going to be low lows. But that is family. and all families look different. And all of you are my heroes. I've said it all weekend, but not everyone gets picked, and everyone in this room today picks somebody or more than somebody. And you have the capacity for love in your heart to do that. You're so special to me. I don't know what makes you tick. I'm fascinated by you. I've been watching you. I've been psychoanalyzing all of you. I don't understand your hearts. I'm glad you exist. I'm so appreciative. I'm thankful. I'm glad kids are out there and have people like you because we need you. You're my heroes. Please remind yourself often, and your kids often, that you picked each other and that your families would never, ever be complete without one another. Thank you so much for giving me this safe place to share.
Thank you for sharing, John, and thank you for giving him that validation to share. When we do our RePlanted groups, I always talk about when we go to those vulnerable places, we can feel so exposed, maybe even a little embarrassed at how much people might know and how much we may have revealed to people. And so I just really appreciate you, John, for taking the courage to being vulnerable. I know he shared some really heavy things, and so it's okay to press into that and to lean in and also to surrender it. When I was talking to John, we've had a few different Zoom meetings over the course of our time, and as he was sharing his story, I was always struck with how much he was really just processing his experience as an adult, and it's always with you, and that's our kids as well. It doesn't go away. We talk about healing, but healing doesn't mean it's over. And one thing, too, that struck me about John is he had mentioned, because I told him, I'm like, how you had some really hard experiences in your life. Like, how did you get to where you are today? And he shared with me a story about a teacher that invested in him in his life as he was growing up, and that teacher changed the trajectory of his life. And so don't underestimate your ability to be that person, too, to your kids and to other people, or even having mentors in your child's life to be that person. I always remember that Harvard study that was done, that one person outside of the family network that your child can build a trusting relationship can drastically change the trajectory of their lives. And that's powerful, and John, you're a testimony to that, and so thank you so much for sharing your story.